Hey guys, Sean here at the Gardener Center. So I have a great group of plants to talk about today. These guys are the very first blooming plants to show up in our nursery every spring. And I say spring, but it's actually sometimes they show up when the calendar still says it's winter. A lot of you may recognize these already, but these plants are Hellebores, Hellebores. They have a couple of different common names. They go by Christmas rose, Lenten rose, or is a common name for these guys, winter rose. So that's kind of a nod to the time of year they bloom, which obviously is winter and early spring. Don't be confused by the name though, because they're not even closely related to roses at all. That's just a name that's kind of attached to them. But they're actually in the ranunculus family, or the buttercup family. So if you ever look at one of their flowers and think buttercup, they are very similar looking. So in the buttercup family, and these guys are a genus of about 20 species, which in the world of plants, 20 species in a genus is actually kind of small. And these guys originate from Eurasia, so we're talking about, Western Asia and Eastern Europe, northern parts of Turkey, the Balkan states. That's their native range. So if you guys are gardening with native plants, they're not going to tick that box. But they tick a whole lot of other boxes, and they definitely should be in your life if they're not already. So let me give you a little scoop on these hellebores, or Lenten roses here. So they are perennial. They grow in USDA hardiness zones 5 through 8. Here in the southwestern part of Connecticut, we're in zone 6, 7, depending specifically where you are. So we're like right in the middle of their happy zone as far as temperatures go. So they're perennials, of course. They bloom, as I said, very late winter, early spring here. Often they'll bloom while there's still snow on the ground. That's not unusual at all. They're kind of unique as far as perennials go, though, for a number of reasons. Number one, they keep their leaves all winter. They're evergreen, which is kind of unheard of with perennials, which is nice. They're also shade perennials. They prefer shade to sun. They'll take a little bit of sun in the morning, but they're really shade plants. They want to be in a shade, especially in the afternoon. They're incredibly long-lived and maintenance-free. So if you have perennials already, think about like hostas, think about daylilies, perennials that you plant, irises, perennials that you plant and then they're there for like 40 years and you never do anything except cut them down once a year. They don't die off or disappear on you. These guys behave in a very similar way. They're that reliable. And the thing that we like the most about them here is number one, the shade tolerance is fantastic because there aren't a lot of shady plants, especially that bloom. But number two, all parts of all hellebores are toxic to humans and animals. They contain an alkaloid that's bad for mammals. So these guys are 100% resistant to animal browsing. They will not be eaten by deer. They will not be eaten by rabbits. They will not be eaten by woodchucks. So you do not have to worry about animal browse with your hellebores. That's a good thing if you have animal problems. If you have a doggo that likes to eat your plants, you may want to skip the hellebores because they're not just a little toxic, they're pretty badly toxic. So you want to be careful if you do have curious pets at home, or children for that matter, I'd imagine. But if you have wildlife browsing problems, these are a super duper choice for that. So super hardy hellebores, first thing to come in the spring. What we like to do with them, they have it serve kind of like double duty. As you can see, they're tall and they're beautiful and they got a lot going on. We like to use these in our early spring containers. They can be the star, the thriller in your early spring containers. Mix them in with some pansies and things like that. But what's nice about that is when you're done with them, they go in the garden. And they may live for 30, 40, 50 years in the landscape, and they spread, they form little clumps. So that way you're not investing in the plant you're going to throw away after 2 months, because our spring containers are kind of short season. So you're investing in a long-term plant as rather just a container plant. And people on the subject of investing, people ask a lot, You know, we sell a lot of perennials in 1-gallon pots here, and people a lot of times will ask me, why are the hellebores so expensive? And they are. A lot of times they're twice as much as all the other perennials that we sell here. And there's a couple of reasons for that. And the main reason for that is it takes a seedling, a hellebore grown from seed, 3 to 5 years to be a blooming age. Whereas a lot of your other perennials that you buy, it takes a year. So the growers have to spend a lot more time with these. And most of them are grown, you know, vegetatively from cuttings, you know, in tissue culture, which is also a very expensive process. And a lot of the newer ones, these are all part of the Ice and Roses series that I have in front of me. These are all hybrids of Hellebores orientalis. So these are all part of the Ice and Roses series. So these guys all have patents on them, which also adds to the cost of them. But trust me, they are well worth the money because, number one, double duty in the spring in the container, then in the garden. They live forever. The animals won't eat them. They'll grow in the shade. And they're green all winter. I mean, they're worth every penny. Trust me. Guys, thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.